All right. Hi. Hello. I am Uncommon, and joining me today is.
Shazam poof. I didn't mess it up this time.
You're
Not that
right.
I've ever messed it
Tom is
up.
here with us today.
I promise I won't die.
um. So hi. Yeah, we're trying something new here. For those,
Being funny.
being funny is really not a thing we're gonna be good at. If you came here for funny things, the funniest thing
Uh,
happening is Tom laughs at everything. He's like Ellen
uh,
DeGeneres. Have you
man.
seen her? She laughs at
Yes.
everything.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
She's great. She's entertaining because she laughs at the tiniest fucking thing.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'm a great dancer, like Ellen.
like Ellen, you're a great dancer.
Hmm.
Camera shy though, so we won't get him for a while.
I don't want there to be, a distraction of beauty between the two of us. I don't want there to be two sides of the huge audience.
I mean, we
Um,
do. I mean, let's split the audience in half and just have them debate over attractiveness.
I don't think you can legally do that to our one audience member.
Split them in half, folks. Make them compete. Um, so yes, why don't you, since I did it last time, talk about why we're here and why they should give a shit.
Um, because I care, and the audience should care when I care, because then we will grow as a family.
I would love to grow as a family, Tom. But that doesn't tell them what the fuck we are and why we're here.
Why we're here for today or in general?
Yeah.
Today we're going to be building a D&D world from the start. And I don't mean from the start as in, we're going to start drawing right now. I mean, we're going to take that a step even further back
We're
and
gonna talk
figure out
about
how to
maybe doing
draw.
things. What?
We're going to figure out how to draw,
Okay.
how to do all of this, and everybody's going to come with us.
Oh man, we're using today, and for our entire organization structure, we're going to be using OneNote. It's a wonderful sharing tool that I can type and draw, and Tom can type and draw, and we'll see it more or
This
less
stream
with a
is
small delay.
brought to you by OneNote.
It is Microsoft right behind us. No, I wish. Microsoft for some reason like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. Here's $30,000 to get this off.
Here's 50 cents if you leave us alone. Deal.
Done. That's a lot of bits. It's like 50 bits. So
Yeah.
we
I can't
have
cut that high.
we have things, and we can draw. Like I could be artistic and say hello with big circles and exclamation points.
Oh, I see it.
You do,
I see it. It's coming. It's
and it's gone.
it's I've lost my mouse.
Wait, really?
Why is my mouse? It does. Oh, you know why?
Why?
Because it turns into a tiny cursor when it's over the window. That's what I'm talking about. This is where we're starting. We're not starting
No, see,
at a.
this is the wrong place to start. I was trying to make it a point, but if you're
What?
if
This
yeah,
is the right place to start. This
this
is
is
a
not.
journey.
This is
This
so
is a
so
journey.
we start by drawing a squiggly circle,
Mhm.
and we
And then-
say we have a kingdom over here, and we have a village over here, and
Done. Show's over.
there's some conflict here, and that conflict, it's a world, it's world conflict world, and this kingdom is perpetrating the conflict, and this villagers, they need mighty heroes to stop the kingdom because they're just a tiny village, and that's the D&D game. And no,
Sounds good. When can we play?
would I could probably pull that out of my ass just fine. But the whole thing would have to be pulled out of my ass. And I think the point of what you wanted to do, you know what? We actually have an outline. We are very organized. See this? We did. We have a.
We're so organized. The show is still untitled, and it's happening.
It's absolutely happening. Episode 1, untitled show. So who are we? We talked about that. For the most part, So I'm uncommon. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for must be oh wow. Okay, like 17 years at least. I have been the dungeon master for more than half of my campaigns. I usually take that role, and just my goal when I sit down at the table is to make sure my players have fun, and whatever they just determine fun to be, I try my best to accommodate it. Sometimes that's sometimes that's role playing. Sometimes it's dungeon crawling. It's combat. The only time I usually draw the line is when that fun means taking away fun from other people. But yeah, I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of I've done a lot. That's me. That's my credentials. The rest of who I am, we'll get to. What about you, Tom?
I've played Dungeons and Dragons 3 campaigns, all of which, or 2 of which, have ended after a month or less, and then the one I'm currently in, where the DM's okay.
He's a pretty okay guy. He's kind of handsome.
But yeah, and so then I was like, hey, I have a tiny idea that I'm going to blow out of proportion and make way overcomplicated, and then Casey will bring me back down to earth, and we'll see if it works.
It's always challenging, and I tell you. So this show is about, this is our next topic. We want to build a world. Tom does, and I want to support him. He wants to build. He more or less wants to build Curse of Strahd, but on a larger level. This is the scaling down part I'm talking about. If you could have tabletop Skyrim annotated in a giant spreadsheet, I think that's where we'd end up. But we're gonna pull that.
Sounds so good.
He's a spreadsheet guy, but we're gonna pull that back. We're gonna pull it in, and we're gonna make it playable and enjoyable while giving Tom the kind of thing he wants. Now, this all ends in. Doesn't end, but it all culminates and continues to play out in a Dungeons and Dragons game that we want to start playing somewhere in the next 3 to 6 months. That's my goal. Tom's ideas are bigger, and he feels maybe 3 to 5 years. We'll see what happens. Somewhere between 3 months to 5 years, we'll start playing a Dungeons and Dragons game using this complex world. So
yeah, I literally said, hey Casey, I have an idea. It's going to be 20% of the life that I've already lived, but hey, you want to?
Maybe, and we'll see where this goes. We will. Well, why is it gonna take so long, Tom?
Because every detail would be fleshed out before we even started.
Okay.
But that's it's still a good idea to me, and I understand why it's not a good idea.
Okay.
But,
what I like out of your idea. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, but I'm stubborn.
What I like out of his idea, and the thing I'm going to try to pull him into focus on, is consequences for actions. NPCs that continue to run their daily lives, conflicts that continue to happen behind the scenes if ignored, and that's a lot of things. When we play Dungeons and Dragons, DMs, we do a lot of that anyway. But frankly, we pull some of it out of our ass. If the party decides they want to go back to a town they haven't been in 3 months and find that NPC that they haven't talked to in those 3 months, usually we just wing it. Hey, what have they been doing? What kind of lifestyle have they had in that time period? And we kind of flesh it out on the spot. Tom would like to manage that in the background. He'd like to map out an economy. He would like to map out everything. We're again scale that back. I'm gonna see how far we can scale that back and still make you happy. But when I say when we say it ends in a Dungeons and Dragons game, it ends in a Dungeons and Dragons game where Tom sits in the background and does all my spreadsheets for me, which could be really.
I know, and it's fun because everyone's like, "Why does Tom get to have all the fun?" And I'm like, "I know. How does Tom get to have all of the fun?"
Because I'm a kind and generous lover. So that's what the show is about. This show is about taking this idea, this seed, and trying to make it come to life. And you're here joining us today on this little bit of a journey. I can access what the show is about. Look at that. I got fancy checklists, you guys. So the tools we're going to use. We only have 2 tools here. It could be bigger. I mean, we're going to use Discord video chat, right? We're gonna use
We are.
Streamlabs, OBS.
Boom.
Wow.
We're gonna use D&D Beyond.
D&D Beyond. Hashtag sponsor.
When is D&D Beyond and Roll20 gonna?
They're competing entities. They are.
Right. But why don't they do the same thing?
Here's I can talk this because I just spent a lot of money on your campaign and the other campaign because I wanted all the tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get the book because I want it in front of me for quick reference, so I can flip through it. So I can take notes, fold pages. I love a good worn-in D&D book. I get D&D Beyond, so I can quick reference things, so I can keep your characters in a campaign, and I can hand you the items, and you can track your characters. It's very nice, searchable content. And then I get Roll20. I get 3 versions of fucking Curse of Strahd because I want them to create all the maps for me and place all the monsters and all the stat blocks, and then give you a virtual space to play in while I use all the other resources. So
why doesn't D&D just have a virtual space?
The last time they tried that was 4th edition, and it never released. It was too big of a project.
No, I mean D&D Beyond. Why doesn't D&D Beyond just take what Roll20 has?
Sure, and do it.
They can't trademark it.
They could do that. It's a big undertaking. It's not their intention, and they're probably making a lot of money doing what they're doing. So I don't know. Maybe that's the next thing to do. D&D really should incorporate all these tools into their own wheelhouse. But that's we're getting way beyond our scope. I think that's fine. We're gonna get here. This is why this is a 3-hour show.
1 hour content, 2 hours is jabbering.
Jabbering. All right. So tools we're gonna use are you the viewers. You the viewers, and you're probably like, what? How am I going to help you create this world? What's the answer to that question, Tom?
They could, throw us ideas, right?
Yeah.
We're not gonna take everything. If you're like, I think everybody should be giant elephants, we'll take that one, but we won't take other ones.
I like the giant elephants idea. Everyone is a giant elephant. So we have giant elephant elves. We have giant elephant humans and dwarves.
You know what? And that can get to our next point, or our future point of why people want to play this world. There you go. Boom.
Boom.
But no. But it's gonna be interactive to some degree. It's a conversation. It's me and Uncommon, and then everybody else who wants to listen, and we'll listen back.
So, when you're dealing with this much data, because a lot of this is going to end up being data, because you're going to want to place names and people, and you're going to need to fill it with a living, breathing world, and that's really easy to incorporate your ideas. Maybe Wagon, our good friend Wagon, wants a character in this world. What would Wagon do? WWWD. That's a lot of W's. But it's good. We're gonna do a lot of brainstorming. We're gonna put a lot of things down on paper, and that's where you, the viewer. Maybe everyone is a giant elephant and has double penises. All right, penises. Is that how you? Okay. All right. So, what are the tools? I still have music going gently in the background. That's fine.
We'll make it romantic. Make it classical. Let's make this a date. Where are the candles?
I only have so many. What's it called when you don't have to pay money for the music and you can stream it?
Oh.
Actually, I had to turn this off because I can't put this on YouTube. That's done. That's done.
Oh
Oops.
no.
Oops. The first couple minutes of this might be completely fucked.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it back on for myself, but I'm going to hide it from the stream because I was enjoying that song. All right.
So here we have Casey living the lie.
I am. It was keeping me going. It's good. All right. So you, the viewer, D&D Beyond, Streamlabs, OBS, maybe eventually Roll20. We'll be using Roll20 to play eventually. And that's the idea, Roll20 and streaming it online with all these good friends. I don't think you get out, by the way, of being a video on this in the future. Just looking at the stream, we need Tom. We need Tom on here. But we're not going to deal with stream setup right now.
I don't know if the world's ready.
You're ready. Other things, of course, we have the D&D books. You did buy all 3 of them the other day, right? We're talking about somebody helping me play and create this world, and just bought the core 3 books for 5e.
Yep.
That's fine, because I don't need him here. I'm here for that. That's why I'm here. Tom is here for beautiful ideas and spreadsheets. And he's prettier than me, trust me.
We need to keep that lie alive. But I'm here to make things great, right? I don't make dreams, I make dreams work.
I shouldn't you know what? I should not mark them like this. I realize I have highlighters and other fantastic tools. I'm like just blacking over them. Like, here we go. This is what we're talking about so far.
So awesome. I'm messing with one of our tools.
Okay.
The Civ map editor.
We do have Civ map editor on here.
Yep. And so I downloaded a mod and I started I'm messing around with it, and I'm like deleting stuff, and I was like, okay, let's get the units off the map. I deleted all my units off the map and I lost the game.
You lost the editor. The editor's like, game over.
Lost the editor beat me. So wait, that means I died.
You did.
And once again, I've died in a stream.
Oh man, we got to start over now. We can't keep going. That's game over. It's hardcore mode. Do I have rolled that map?
Yeah, and I've slowly read some of the D&D books.
Okay.
I've learned about D&D and how it stands for Dungeons and Dragons.
There are both in this game.
Mm-hmm.
D&D books.
We should create a world without any dragons or dungeons.
All right, without dragons and dungeons. That might be the most brilliant idea I have ever heard. I bet nobody has ever said those words because of how brilliant they are.
I'm not insulted. My ideas are great.
You shouldn't be. Honestly, Curse of Strahd has like one dungeon. It has one dungeon and maybe one dragon. I don't think it has a dragon. It has a dragon. It does have a dragon. But if you took those 2 things out of the Curse of Strahd, it wouldn't be a bad book. It would still be a fantastic book if you took the Amber Temple out and the dragon that you don't know is there yet, because you're currently playing that campaign. All right. So any other tools we want to talk about? Because the Civ map editor, you're using that, but this is kind of like a maybe we use it to give ourselves a map.
It's a rough draft.
A rough draft of a world. Cool, we're not artists.
Yeah.
We're not artists.
No. It makes it look slightly nicer than colored blocks.
It does. It makes it look slightly nicer. And then you fill in the details, and you kind of let the world help you. Let that editor help you build it, because you can't get too attached. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing we're going to a tool we're not going to use. Let's see. Tools we won't use is emotional attachment to our ideas. So I'm going to tell on Tom for a moment here. Tom says, I have this beautiful idea. And then he started laying out what the first session would look like. This is not world building, Tom. You
I have big dreams.
There was this elephant man, ideas. And maybe he gets angry at the bar. Like, stop. Back it up.
See, you said the word. You said bar.
Well, things started at a bar. D&D games started at a tavern.
Different. We need to be different.
Here's the thing. Everybody's trying to be different, and not enough people are holding to the trope. Tropes are fun. They're recognizable. People get them. But I agree. You can come a different angle out of it. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. But you can't make that decision yet, because we don't even have a shape of a continent, a show name. We have none of these things. So you really don't want to start bogging yourself in the details.
I don't know if this map editor is going to work.
So tools we won't use too many details.
Tools we won't use details.
Early. And apparently we also won't use proper punctuation with the wording.
Hell nah.
Hell nah, y'all. Scroll down a little bit. Um, Tools. I think we can probably move on to actually. So this first episode should be about structure and getting the layout of how we're going to map this world, how we're going to, well, really how we're going to sketch it. Because I don't want to sketch it yet. I don't want to start putting names to things or campaigns to things. The first step is being organized. And that comes with like what tabs we're going to use and what pages we're going to use. Because we've decided OneNote is going to be the tool for our Dungeons and Dragons. It's going to be lifeblood. So, on a zoomed out scale, and this is, if you have feedback, this is the time to start getting in on the ground floor. What kind of tabs? What's the biggest, farthest zoomed out thing we want to start listing? As an example, and I'm just going to throw a couple things out here, like, NPCs, organizations, terrain, or locations actually might be better. What do you got, Tom? I don't want to just keep rambling on.
Kingdom / countries / I guess that would be organizations.
Okay, so let's sub-tab that. Kingdoms or politics.
Yeah.
Right, criminal organizations. And maybe they're the criminal elements, maybe they're all, and we're brainstorming, so we'll actually make the tabs at the end of this. What else?
The party itself.
So characters. Okay. And what kind of NPCs? Whole tabs for them. Do we list them individually? Do you list them by location? Do we start linking back to locations?
Yeah, and that's the profiles, the NPC profiles that have the links that attach them to where they,
okay,
to where they're needed.
All right, so we just make this literally just every single character.
Well, not
in alphabetical order.
Every character, but yeah.
The ones we want to track.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly how you could do them like you would in an Excel sheet. Like you have them by name, by group,
okay,
by relationship status, by.
But you should be typing this.
But my hands are folded.
Son of a bitch! You son of a bitch!
That's it's like, hey, we're gonna use this tool. And by we, I mean Casey. And
completely.
Well, for me, it's coming up on stream.
It is.
Let's see. Let's go back to typing.
Monsters. Are monsters enough of a tab?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Encounters.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
What do you have? Timeline.
I just put in timeline and it encounters.
So history.
Oh, you beat me to it.
Bam. What else does it have? I think one of these tabs also right at the top. We do DM screen.
Oh yeah.
Quick notes and references. Yeah, we're getting there. Shazam poof. Alright, I'm watching this. It types slowly, but
oh my god, I messed up. Shazam poof TMs. Communications. Like here's this. Feeding in information.
Right. I'm gonna put communications just because DM has its own special meaning.
Oh yeah, that's right. But you can't slide into the communications. It doesn't sound right.
So you're saying that while I'm playing, you're gonna have a notepad up typing to me?
Potentially.
That might be better served for a Discord, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Also, you said. Oh wait, no, that's for actually playing.
Yeah,
we're getting too ahead of ourselves.
Get too ahead of ourselves. We're doing tabs. We're doing tabs and pages. So GM screen. What doesn't fit in there? What could we want to know that doesn't fit in there? So locations can have, a world map. They can have Oh,
cities.
right, cities and towns, etc. When I think encounters, for example, I'm thinking one-offs. These are something happens in the world, or rather, if you need a dungeon really quick because they found themselves in a random place, you have a bunch of disposable adventures.
Hmm.
Maybe not even disposables. This could also just be the story.
You just have them all out already. Everything's already designed and perfect.
That's your plan. You said that if they go to a certain block, a certain 5-foot space in the world, you want to know what's there.
Yes.
And that's kind of the encounter. So you can probably map those with coordinates if you'd like, or
Not only
hexagons.
what's there, what was there yesterday, and what's going to be there tomorrow.
Every
We
day.
know
So
it
all these
all.
encounters are you're gonna have a chart if you really want that. And I'm gonna tell you don't want that, but I'm gonna put charts. Timeline's gonna have a history. It's gonna have calendars,
Mhm.
which is gonna include holidays.
I don't know who we do. Oh, maybe. I mean, what's his the super guy, Matt Mercer.
Yeah, Matt Mercer.
I'm sure he's probably has all of that.
He probably does. But those are major timelines. Like spring comes, how does your culture react?
Mhm.
That's a thing.
Right.
Okay. All right. So let's start making these. I'm going to start at the top. You start at the bottom. And
I mean, I will say this is very like when it comes to all right. Did you do? So the only thing is when you do tabs, I don't see them right away.
right.
So I don't know when we're gonna hit each other.
That's fine. We could just be talking. I'm at locations.
Okay, I'm at encounters.
Good to
Oh
know
wow,
you.
they all just popped up. That's the quickest they've. What just happened? It just.
Yeah, it's synced. That's all.
Well, they all just popped up, but not the one that I just did. I just typed in encounters and hit enter.
Things happen. You just got to adapt. If you want to DM, you have to learn how to adapt.
So you don't have to learn how to adapt if you're perfect. If you are completely sentient, you know every possibility of what your players can be thinking, and you've already played the game that they're playing.
That's
You're just
true.
letting them
If you are
enjoyment.
the God, the literal like embodiment of, Jesus Christ or Thor or whoever you are, you can predict your characters. But the first lesson of Dungeons and Dragons is your characters will always do what you don't expect them to do.
It's my favorite part.
And that's where a lot of dungeon masters get in trouble because they start trying to railroad their players into the expected outcome, and it takes oh god, it takes what's called player agency away from them. That's something we try to generally avoid. Is taking away
people
choice.
Call not fun.
I mean, it could be fun. Sometimes that's what your players want, and if that's what your players want is a story on rails, you got to be
get new players.
Oh my god. Some of my most frequent dungeon DMing sessions where I worked in a game, and I didn't work. I got like $12 worth of soda and snacks on Saturdays because I would come in and DM for whoever showed up that day. It was like a one-off I had with the store owner. I didn't even know I was getting paid for it. I didn't. He was just like, "Oh, by the way, these drinks have been free." Like, okay, thanks. Anyway, the point of that is, I never knew who I was gonna have. I never knew who was gonna show up at the table, and most of the time it was just kids, young children. Their parents dropped them off to do whatever, and it was my job to give them the game they wanted on the spot. And we're past that. I lost where I was going with that. That story started on a trail, and it was heading to a destination, and the GPS said turn right, and I went off a cliff. All right. You good? Oh man. All right. So we're getting to,
the audience will get used to that.
We're getting to the knickknacks here. So you start with encounters, and you're gonna start adding some of these pages we talked about.
Charts one-offs the story.
Yeah, we can.
These are shitty pages.
They are shitty pages, but use the template. So copy the template, paste it a few times, and I put it in every page for you. Make it nice and simple.
Oh my God, I'm doing it.
You are dungeon mastering right now.
GG, no re.
Quick notes. I'm already forgetting what I put. References.
Do things have to be spelled correctly?
Not really.
All this APM and none of it to spell actual words. Charts.
So this point here, what we're doing, and why I'm having us take this long route about it is, most important is once we start putting data in, it all needs an intelligent place to land, because we want to be able to find it when we need it. You need information. When you want information, you got to find it. But it doesn't start until you organize, and whatever method you choose. And I don't think this is our final organization method, because we're going to come up with something we need to put down here, and we're not going to know where the hell it fits, and we'll create a new category. But it's that kind of flexibility. Profiles, I think NPCs is fine on its own. Organizations.
History, calendars, holidays.
That's kind of...
Page. You can make a page within a page?
You can make a page not a page within a page. You can make a page, and you can make it a sub-element to another page. Which really just tabs it over and organizes it. You can collapse it on itself, which is what we'll do eventually with like kingdoms and politics, criminal elements. But I think we can move past that for organizations and come back to it later. For locations, we're going to need a...
I see. I keep on talking and then forgetting what the page name is, and then I have to go back.
I've been doing the exact same thing.
See, except everybody knows it for you. I could be doing.
You could be a master in the background and nobody would know. History. We're on the same page.
Yeah, we are.
Yep, we'll delete yours.
Why? Delete yours. Mine's way better.
Your monsters tab's empty, and that's cool. Your encounters tab, I gotta sync it. Missing sections. Sync this notebook now. Misplaced sections. Oh shit, that's a lot of misplaced sections, but that's, I think, my entire... Oh, this gives me some ideas, because I have other places where I do this. So some good stuff to put in here is going to be deities. Mm-hmm. And stores. That's more like random generation stuff, but deities is a good...
Boo!
What's that? You don't like random generation?
No.
You want to map it all out.
Yes.
Is that how you spell deities, or is that deities?
It's
it's E.
I-E.
Yeah.
No, E-I.
E-I. D-E-I.
O.
Deities.
E-I-E-I-O.
Deitides?
No, that is a deity. Deitides.
Oh, God. Deitides is a deity. Done.
He's the god of cleaning.
All right, we're going to make template deities. Deitides. There we go. Deity 1, Deitides.
How big can these books get before they break?
Pretty massive. I don't know if I've run to the limit.
Okay.
People have encapsulated all of Dungeons and Dragons literature into these things before, and they were fine.
Good.
They were fine.
That's what we need.
All right. So the problem with what we're doing now is we actually have to involve ourselves in the creative process, because the next thing we were going to do today is one big idea. One big idea on why our world is different. Why would people want to play it? And you had come up with some things you had written, but I think they were more focused on the system than what's special. And what I mean by why would people play it, what makes it different, we talked a little bit about it, the difference between Faerun and Eberron. Do you remember how I described it?
Faerun is the place where magic is plentiful. Eberron is where there is no magic.
No. You got the right idea. Faerun is...
I have never felt more like I'm in high school again, where I get called on. I haven't read the book. I had to make up something.
It was good. That was good, though. It was. Faerun's the place. It's standard fantasy, right? It's your closest thing to... Not even say Tolkien. Tolkien's stingy with magic. It's your standard D&D setting. It has magic. It's rare. but still wondrous. The whole world of Faerun has a massive history. Imagine a million years of like a kingdom rises and then crumbles, and then something rebuilds on top of it, and that crumbles, and over and over and over. The whole land is just buried deep with these ruins and cultures. You never know what you're going to find, and when the last person who found it. That's Faerun. Eberron is almost steampunk. It's low magic. Magic is everywhere. It's used day to day in day-to-day business. Like your maid might have magic spells because she does her cleaning with magic. But she's no great wizard. She's just a maid. What about our world? What do people care? What is Tom like in his fantasy?
What is Tom? Well, I don't know if this would be stream appropriate, Casey.
Whoa.
Okay.
All right.
So.
Yeah.
I want massive battles.
Oh my God! Don't do that. Don't bang your ears. Okay. You want massive battles, but that's not up to the setting. Massive battles,
right?
Is up to the
but
person
it's
running it.
I want large scale conflict. A world of large scale conflict.
A world of large.
Better?
That's better. That is so much better than what you originally said.
Same thing to me.
Sure, but we gotta frame it, or at least I have to understand this. You want conflict. So.
Yes.
All right.
And I want to be a part of that conflict. I want it to not be a story element. I want it to be alive, and breathing, and.
Okay, so, and this is where I'm going to start dinging into you, because this would be your job. If it's alive and breathing, alive means what? I have a general idea, but you're the wordsmith, aren't you?
Alive and breathing.
What happens to a child when they're raised in a world of constant conflict? What kind of existence? What kind of person does that make? Is that what we're talking about? Like everybody experiences war from a young age.
Well, yes, but I mean on a player's, like from a player's point of view. Like I don't want to dungeon crawl while there's large scale battles happening. I want it to be a part of the world.
No, I hear you, but I think we start in a world that's just so used to conflict.
Okay,
it's
right,
buried in their everyday lives.
Potentially, yeah.
So
see, now I'm trying not to get too attached.
Of conflict. What did we say? What tools we're not going to use, Tom?
We're not going to use thinking.
Oh.
No.
So for conflict, it's embedded in every day. Now, this isn't the final answer. We're brainstorming.
Right.
All right. So we can pause there and go to the next idea, or expand on other options for that idea. Other options.
Yeah.
But the idea is when you play this game, you're going to want players to feel the surrounding conflict.
I guess.
Okay.
I'm trying to like to me.
Yeah.
What that statement is that bullet is that other world that what you said is we didn't want to take the teacher's answer word for word, so we took out magic and put in conflict.
Okay, I see what you're saying. That's not bad though. That's a pretty good start to a unique world. If you dive into it properly, what does that mean for the people? Is it political? Is it political strife? Is everybody a warrior? Are 90% of the males fucking dead?
Hot.
Well,
no.
Dead.
Ooh.
There's a world for our fanboy nerds. There are no men. You're the only man among hundreds of women. What do you do? But what happens to society when they're faced with that particular dilemma? If you're running into mostly women characters, they're running the world, they're running the government, or is this a world where gender equality was fucking there from the start, and we just don't have a lot of people, period. The world is a
Right.
dangerous place with small pockets of villages and civilization. The rest of it's, war torn and bloody with spies and monsters taking advantage of the conflict, right? And then moving into large, vast areas of territory. So everywhere is dangerous. Where weapons are plentiful and cheap because scavengers are pulling them off the bodies of the soldiers. Who are the soldiers? How are we feeding this army? We build onto that idea in that way. So go ahead. I've been talking. So what do you got? Anything you want to bullet onto this, maybe?
So world so full of conflict, it's better than everyday life. It's I keep on saying things, and then I know they're too specific, but then to me, the only, but it all leads to the same point, right? Like, to me, it's not like we're getting back to uh the same point where a world full of blah, a world full of blah, a world full of blah. Like, to me, I don't see a way to work back from the things that are being said to not end up with a world full of blah or a world full of not blah.
Well, that's a start. You work back. We are starting backwards. What is your specific idea? Maybe I can help. That's why I'm here.
I don't know what my specific idea is. It's essentially, because and then it's having to fight back and reclaim territory that has been lost due to the here, I'll type. I'm a big boy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a typer. I type things.
Bam.
You might even call me a typist. It is. It actually claimed it as yours.
Yeah.
Did you cut and paste it?
Mine.
Overrun large areas.
Mine.
Oh my gosh, he's just claiming things I've written, and you're not even claiming them well. Let me sync this notebook.
That's a cool feature.
It is.
No, it's not. It's not a.
Now I have two of them, and you have none of them. All right. What else do we want to tab on this as a maybe?
Like of this world full of conflict.
Yeah.
See, now the stream's dying to know what I have to say.
Yeah, you should say it out loud. That's why I can type it for you, buddy.
No, it's the suspense. They love the suspense.
Magically items scattered across the land.
Fuck you. Magical. No.
My teams scattered across the land. All right, but yeah, because battles have taken place and soldiers have fallen, and even
you
old
flip
soldiers.
over a body and there's a super holy cross that does 8d6 plus 120 damage.
But moving over that battlefield is dangerous because that territory's been lost for ages. This battle has been going on for thousands of years, and the old battlefields aren't claimed by civilized societies anymore. All right, let's move past this conflict. What else?
A world.
It doesn't have to be a world full of something, but it can be.
A world full of whores.
Of whores. All genders equally represented.
Of course. Because it's full of them.
So let's
Can't
talk
be
about,
full with only half.
let's talk about other settings. All right. So what are some books you've read, fantasy novels you've read?
Okay. Well,
He's gonna be like the dungeons, and he's got to get up and look at his physical library.
I've read Ender's Game, and to complete that list, I have read 78 pages of The Lies of Locke Lamora.
Okay. I'm gonna add on to this Dragonlance. Dragonlance is a world of the magic is controlled by the gods and the goddesses. The moons are different colors. It's almost standard fantasy, but there's dragons in dragon-like creatures, and it's a nice epic. It's a nice classic epic. Tolkien, kind of a low magic, immortal elf, ring of power thing, right? I'm spelling Tolkien wrong, and the nerds are gonna kill me.
Author. Thought he was an author. J.R. Tolkien.
You motherfucker. Lord of the Rings, a Silmarillion. I don't. Really, if you want to talk about Lord of the Rings, ask Travis. He's the guy to talk to. I've done Black Jewel trilogy. The whole thing there was.
Why are you doing all this reading when there's video games to be played?
You're not wrong. Black Jewel trilogy. Oh God. Go ahead.
I've read the storyline of Pokemon Go.
Is there a storyline of Pokemon Go?
I don't think so.
There's a minor one. Now. There's a minor one.
Yeah, how we're Team Rocket and we're capturing all the Pokemon.
Oh God, I wish.
Transferring them to Giovanni.
So Black Jewels trilogy is jewels, kind of like birth jewels and royalty, and like a high class, like a class-based system. And that's magic. Like the jewels represent magic. And your jewel color and strength that you're born with represents your power in the caste and society.
What if we give rings to each of the races?
And the elves could have 7, and the dwarves 3, and the humans, yeah, sure. And then 1 ring to rule them all. Then there's the Black Prism. I'm trying to feed you ideas. Man. Black Prism is colors. Color magic.
Color magic.
Right. Everybody's born with a certain spectrum. Not everybody. The people who are color manters, or I forget what they're called, they're born with different spectrums of magic that they can utilize. They draw in colors into their eyes, and they can turn that into different kinds of magic. The colors represent types, and the full spectrum of colors, even to the invisible spectrum in the rarity. Feeding into that, we have oh God, there was a series, I forget the name of it. But it was metallic magic. Magic. Hey, Pitfall. So what you're watching here is me and Tom are building a Dungeons and Dragons world from scratch. You fell into episode 1, and we're brainstorming. We're fleshing out ideas, and the thing we're talking about at this exact moment is right here. Why is our world different? One big idea for the setting. Why would people want to play it? Where's the starting point for what we're doing? And I'm feeding Tom ideas, and as I look at these ideas, they're mostly where's the magic come from?
Right.
And that's cool. That's a good.
What level of technology is it?
Right.
We don't know.
Tech and magic. Oh yeah, we don't know what kind of level of technology is. We are.
We're literally right at the very beginning. We are at the Big Bang. Big Bang? Mm-hmm. Big Bang of this universe.
The big ink spill that is these words on this paper.
Yeah, it's quite the ink spill.
So, but yeah, technology was probably a good question.
Right.
Where's the technology?
But with this, all this, to me, and this is where my lack of D&D knowledge comes in. Sure. To me, all the spells come from the same spot.
Yes and no.
The spells are all the same. It's not like our world is going to have different metal spells. I don't have an answer for that question.
Fucking right. A setting can have its own twist. It can say these spells don't work. These spells are added. The way you prepare spells are different because the world of magic works differently. You don't have to stick to the core of the player's handbook. Now, I think we be very careful about how much of the core system we interfere with. But for example, Eberron has new races. It has another, I think it has another class, and it has a couple spells, and it adds to the flavor of the world. For example, Warforged were magically fueled robotic people. and their whole race.
Polar.
Hey, Polar.
I kind
I
of,
am
yeah.
Polar. Absolutely. I am taking Shazam Poof to the School of Dungeon Masters, which I am. I am a master of dungeons.
I will say, Polar, that like there has definitely been like 2 or 3 distinct times where I've had flashbacks, like deja vu flashbacks to high school. Um,
That's good.
but
It's working.
what if then
Okay.
I see, but I thought you said that all of my answers were too specific. But then what about the idea that um, the only magic is done under like a thieves guild? Like it's the bad part, and they're all done by like you trade spells like you trade drugs,
That's a
and they're all
fantastic
done.
fucking idea. That's huge. Magic is rare and illegal.
Yeah.
Only
How
only
do you?
traded in back alleys and
Okay, so
government
if
and government control.
yeah, yeah. So Pinfill, the way you win is if you're Casey the DM, you kill all of your players with battle with bugbears.
So
But the real answer is with D&D, there's definitely stories that you win. There's endpoints. There's a big master demon that you kill, or there's some sort of goal that you're working towards, and you finally get there. But it's oh, that's gonna sound super cheesy, but it's that story, right? You don't win. You play the story.
so
Like you can take one D&D campaign, win it, and the DM can slowly through the magic of DMing can take those characters and put them into a different world, and then everything starts anew.
Let me start from a more basic level, because everything Tom said is correct. Dungeons and Dragons is a shared storytelling game. At its core, it was a bunch of people sitting around a table. One person was what we called the dungeon master, and they told the story. They controlled all the monsters, the NPCs, all the non-player characters, the world, the environment. They controlled it, and they placed the characters in that world, played by everybody else at the table, had one character. So the DM would lay out a situation or setting, and the characters had full control over their own actions. So they would tell the dungeon master what they'd like to try to do, or how they'd maneuver through a problem. And then with the use of dice and decision making by the dungeon master, it became a story. It was definitely a joint storytelling experience. Now, you do this a couple hours a week, couple hours a month, over the course of a long period of time, and you have start to finish this like a campaign. Imagine an episode of a TV show, and every time you sit down, you're running an episode, and you win. There's no winning. You're literally doing it for the fun of doing it. It's one of these rare exceptions in gaming that you just play for the sake of playing. And that's one of my favorite things about it is I'm not doing it to power level. I'm not doing it to get fantastic. Exactly. It's an improvising story. It is exactly that. But with dice and some rules, it was born out of wargaming, kind of like Warhammer. If you're familiar with Warhammer or Warhammer 40K, it was born out of that. And it is. And that's what we're doing here, is we're trying to build a setting for a Dungeons and Dragons game that we will eventually run. And the core of the idea came from Tom. He wants this to be a well thought out, developed world that's living in the background. So when I get to DM this game, I have the database that's going to be Tom feeding me the living, breathing world. But yes, I think everything Tom was saying was accurate, but I had to actually explain what D&D was. Look at this. We're doing. I'm having fun. I'm having more fun. Not that I thought I'd have, because I've been excited about this all day. So where we're at now, I like magic is rare and illegal, only traded in back alleys and government control. So if a player wants to be a wizard, they will have all the same spells and abilities, but access to new magic is very difficult. Sorcerers would be hunted. Warlocks would be, illegal and they'd have to hide their abilities. And second, they pull out magic in a crowded city, they probably have guards on their butt, right? Thanks for hanging out,
Right.
Polar.
See, Polar.
You can
Polar.
craft magic and store into cards. Okay. It's not that you can store them into cards. It's that, for example, a wizard to learn new magic, they need scrolls that they then copy and put into their spell book. All their spells that they can cast are encompassed in a spell book. So in this situation, he would have the spell book that he starts with, which has a very limited number of spells. And normally, to get more spells, you go to the spell store and you buy the materials and you copy it in your spell book. In this world, he would have to run into some dangerous, shady people and maybe do some work for those people and then acquire that back alley trade for more magic. The characters that get magic naturally would have to hold back their abilities, hide it, right? Because as soon as it became public knowledge, now you're in a witch hunt situation. I love that idea, actually. I really love that idea. So what's stopping wizards from making billions of scrolls? Money, the cost of materials. So to copy let's say a level 1 spell, which is really basic, it requires 100 gold worth of paper and ink. And that's to copy it one time to one other person's book. So he could do it for 100 and probably charge quite a bit. He runs the risk of getting caught, hiding from the law. It's the same thing that stops people from selling weed, really, if you want to get a good direct comparison.
Mm-hmm.
What makes crack dealers not rich? I don't know. It's a good answer. That's a really good question for the world, actually. I don't want to like overstep it. Like what's stopping wizards? I don't fucking know. We have to kind of figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Tom, because you're on a fucking roll.
Where we go? It's the same box. Okay.
Yeah. Only traded in back alley. You have some more thoughts on this, so go ahead.
Every disagreement is settled by trial by combat.
I mean, I like the idea, but it's a minor theme.
It's a minor theme.
Unless you could tell me how that builds into a big theme. Like someone's like, that coffee was $1, not $1.50, and they're like, trial by combat. We're gonna go at it.
One family goes, I want my son to marry your daughter, and then the other family goes, no. Then they have two champions fight, and whoever champions win, that becomes law. So then these champions are then coveted. So then people pay absorbent amount of money to have these fighters that they can then extend power from, grow wealthier from.
All right, so I'm going to play the player here. And okay. Pinful says the strongest guy rules the universe. Maybe. The guy who can buy the strongest guy, I think, rules the universe. But maybe the strongest guy just strikes it out on his own. I think still people still might, assassins are still a thing. But here's the problem. You've now legalized every crime.
Yes.
So players are like, I want to have relations with this woman, and the woman says, I no. Trial by combat.
Well, this is a perfect world for Goddard. Like, he would probably pay money to live with, as a D&D, not real life Goddard. But
oh man, every disagreement is settled by trial by combat. God, there'd have to be some players could get out of control because they slowly become some of the strongest entities in the world. But then politicians would control stronger people, and as you see people rising the power, I guess you would have players like lords would be hiring wizards to firebolt them to death, right? Like this level 18 wizard works for me, and you're going to become a power threat for me legally, so you're dead. Take a finger of death at 3rd level, motherfucker. What about power is power. Not there's no trial by combat, but the strongest are the rulers. So the strongest magicians, that's weird. I don't like it, and it's too much. It reminds me too much of Black Jewels trilogy. That was a caste-based system based on power of their jewels. My jewel is black. My jewel is blacker than black. And what they did there is every time somebody was born with the potential to get a really strong jewel, stronger than the current ruler would just kill them. And so when the true queen was born and she was going to be really strong, they had to hide her until she came of age. Because how they did it is when you come of age, your jewel gets stronger, so it could go up like 3 levels of color. So the current ruler was like a red jewel, and that was after she had matured, and that was like 3 jewels from the top. But she had killed everybody who had been born with a jewel that could mature higher than hers, so nobody else was stronger. So this one queen is born, and she has not only like 7 black jewels were supposed to be the strongest jewel, she also had 1 jewel of every color. So she was this weird anomaly. But it was a really cool book. You should read it. You don't read books. You should get Audible subscription and listen to it.
I mean, like, I don't.
All right. Which one of these do we like so far? Or do we don't like?
I mean, the disagreement, that was more of just like
okay,
to have, something.
Magic is rare and illegal. World of conflict. What if they were combined?
Yeah.
Do they work together? You don't really have the enforcement if we're talking like everybody's. There's not a lot of armies. Can't really enforce rules very well.
Right.
So yeah, I guess they don't work so well together.
Well, I don't know, like, yeah, just like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Of these two, I like the second one. Do you want to start building the second one?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Magic is rare and illegal wins the discussion at the moment, and let's build on it then. So, only traded in back alley and government control, extensive underground trading market, sorcerers, warlocks, druids, have to hide. Does that include divine magic? So we have arcane and divine. Does that include your clerics?
That's a good question.
So maybe
I don't know. Maybe clerics are just like
is it
closely regulated?
What if it was the reason magic was illegal is because it was a religious state and the clerics held the power, and so arcane magic was illegal because it could threaten.
So you have
because one of them comes from an unknown source, right? So wizards from the elements and sorcerers from blood and warlocks from devils, but clerics come from gods. It's magic from above, and maybe that's allowed, and maybe that's why it's illegal, because the power of the church runs the governs.
Then how much are the gods like actually around? Like
they could be around. They could just be hanging out at the fucking tavern.
So you just have like each kingdom is its own god.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Each.
Like, is that even like possible within D&D?
Yeah, we could say that the gods
can
have
you
taken
kill a
an
god
interest.
in D&D?
Yes. It's not easy. It's the end of the game. It's that's the kind of thing that an entire campaign can revolve around, right? So your campaign right now revolves around Strahd, this great vampire, but a whole campaign can revolve around the killing of a god. It can revolve around things like the acquiring of a magic weapon, the saving of a kingdom. But we could say that the gods have taken a keen interest in physically living in this world. They wanted to experience mortal pleasures more directly. And so we can just say a handful of gods have taken the taboo of actually ruling. And their clerics can be stronger. Their clerics would be personally recognized a lot easier. Maybe extra strong clerics in this world, but the only threat to the gods in the mortal realms becomes magic, arcane magic, druidic magic, demonic magic from the warlocks that threatens their ability to rule, and maybe uneasy tensions because we have a couple kingdoms that have risen up because these gods have here, but they still have competing interests. They still want more land, but they're tempered by each other a little bit. Is it a secret? There are wizards. Wizards would probably be something like a known quantity. The gods probably know. It's probably like the Jedi. Like the Empire's trying to crush the Jedi, but there's a couple left. One second. Each god... I gotta write some of this down. Gods have come to the realm to rule and enjoy mortal pleasures. They rule... but maybe they don't all rule kingdoms. So some rule kingdoms. Some just drink and fuck. Because who knows what each god wants? Some run criminal elements. Some violently protect nature. Whatever they're the god of, right? They become overzealous in that nature. So they outlaw wizards or magic, arcane magic. Most of them. So the ones that rule. So the ones that rule outlaw arcane magic, and maybe not all of them. Maybe there's a kingdom where arcane magic is okay, but it's constantly under siege. So, are constantly under siege, and now we have that conflict. Not only conflict between men, but conflict between gods. Are we building something you're liking? Are we talking your language?
No, yeah, no. I'm thinking.
Because I'm typing as I'm thinking these words, but nothing's necessarily in stone yet. Because that's a brilliant idea, and I think we're building on something here. Good.
Has this never been done?
I don't know. I mean, it might have been. Not in this specific
Just
way.
not as good as we have.
No, this is fantastic. What if believing in a god grants you magic powers and spells you use based on that god, and the god having more followers gives more strength? You know what? I mean, kind of what actually already sits in place in D&D. But in this world, those gods are directly... It's like in D&D. You pray to a god and maybe you feel their warmth and blessing. But in this world, you can go to your god and petition for more power. You can have a direct conversation.
Yeah. And then how does like converting?
Probably violently, right? Or depending on the god. Depending on the god. We get to map out how each god rules on this realm. What they decide to do. Some are violent, some are peaceful.
So, yeah, converting is a big...
Converting followers builds strength of the gods. And pushes the war. So players could potentially serve a god and help them take over the realm because they're the correct god to rule. So having more followers gives God more strength. All right. We're getting farther than I thought we would today.
And it's only been
an hour and 9 minutes. Okay.
How many is saying how many gods too specific? Well, let's generalize it. How many gods?
Eventually. Well, I mean
10? No. I'm talking general. 10, 100, 1,000? Like
unknown. We can place the major players, and then if somebody else were to run this campaign, they could insert their own minor players in places.
Okay.
That's maybe the god of the god who's just been whoring around and enjoying the fruits of man. You know,
Mhm.
maybe we don't make him, or we probably will because that's a brilliant idea. But you know, maybe they start inserting minor deities that or have less.
Kind of like the vassals. So there's right. So you have like an entire kingdom isn't ruled by like you don't watch Game of Thrones at all, right?
I do, and I'm on season
Okay.
5. No spoilers, please.
Yeah. So you're like like the Starks. The Starks are the king of the North, but
Yeah,
there's like different houses within the North.
yeah, I'm thinking that. I'm absolutely thinking
Right.
that.
So, okay. And so you have like
Yeah,
uh,
I I like it.
but, but to me, so then one of the things like if we have somebody who wants to play a sorcerer,
Yeah,
how does
they're accepting a role
well,
playing challenge.
okay, so that's like to me they would know the rules before they're stepped into the
Well,
world.
they know the world. We're not going to play gotcha games with them. They grew up in this world. Their characters have a history here. Um, so yeah,
Okay.
I mean, playing a sorcerer is still powerful. A lot of your fights don't happen around public people. You know, it's not a gotcha game, but when you're like, I'm in a tavern, you're not going to cast magic missile. Magic isn't something you hide very easily, and maybe that puts some strength into some of the sorcerer spells that allow them to cast silently or subtly. There's feats that do that, or meta magic for sorcerer. You know,
And that's another thing. Like I want to find interesting ways to apply things that aren't necessarily applied.
okay,
There are certain cleric spells that in our current game I would never use in a million years.
like what?
Um,
That's a great thing about
let me
clerics.
just let me just pull out my fancy
Please bring out your
cleric
spell book.
cards. That,
Oh,
oh no, I
nice.
was talking about these, which I just showed on just to Casey.
Just to me, he's
Um,
got the spell cards. D&D since 4th edition has created spell cards that make it easier to keep a hold of your spells. So you just pull out the cards that your character needs, and you can shuffle through them. It was a big thing in 4th edition because 4th edition became more tactical, and it was more about squares and movement, more wargaming. It was a fun edition. It just wasn't the D&D most people were familiar with, which is why we got 5th edition the way we did, which is a fantastic edition.
some of these I don't even understand. Um,
That's fine.
uh,
You gotta find one quickly.
oh no, oh no, oh no,
Come on, Tom.
oh no. Uh, like I guess like yeah, no, this is a good example. I skipped over it, but it is a good example. Frick, now I need to find it again. Um, it was like curing food. What was it? It was like purify food and drink. Like
Okay.
that's a good example of a spell.
You don't know why that's a useful spell?
Well, I know why it's a useful spell, but just in the current campaign, I'd never use it.
So clerics though have this wonderful ability to go to sleep for 8 hours, wake up, and change their spells. So when the situation
True.
finally appears that you have no access to food and water, but this pile of
Yeah,
sleep,
I guess a cleric is a bad example because they just change on a whim. But like, I'm sure certain spells exist for the other classes as well.
there are some that are stronger, like Hold Person's one most people take. Fireball's the best level 3 spell. But depending on how you build your wizard, you can make certain things really fantastic. Control wizards are amazing if your player can stand not doing a lot of damage. Wizards are great for that.
Okay, but but what I'm saying, I like. We should like find some way to uh, reward characters, not D&D behemoths,
What do you mean?
right? Like to somehow reward a character in a way where if you're multi-classing a warlock paladin and you can eldritch blast and heal and orgasm in the same turn,
Sure,
like
orgasm is a problem in balance.
but like that.
You want a way to balance overpowered characters.
No, I just want a way to reward mechanically
Mechanically
uh,
reward creativity, ingenuity.
ingenuity. I would say.
I think you get that right away by making magic illegal and rare. And I'm going to reword that to arcane magic. I think you get that right away because they're going to need to use their abilities carefully and well thought out. And is it worth it? And this is a punishing setting. This is a very punishing setting for wizards. That's actually a punishing setting for every most classes, save for what, rogue, ranger, fighter, barbarian. Everybody else has magic. Actually, I guess in this world, cleric and paladin's fine as long as you're worshiping the right god in the right place, which is probably also another problem. And then it's just punishing for those non-magic casters anyway, because they're probably traveling with the wizard. Because if I tell people that magic is illegal, arcane magic is illegal, what are they going to want to play?
Right.
An arcane fucking wizard. That's because that's what I would do.
You can't tell the kid not to touch something.
Right, and I think that makes it interesting on its own and a challenge. But we do have this deity war-ish that makes it's a great element for your tracking. It's a great element for your desire to build and track data. Because those are major players you can never forget about.
Right.
You know,
and their interactions
with each other
are going to be,
their follower accounts, the party's influence with them. It's all there. All right, I'm for the sake of keeping this interesting.
What, you mean this isn't interesting already?
Well, fun. Where's the tech at? That was one of the big questions right away. Is what level of technology are we talking?
Oh yeah, that's right. The pinfall hat.
So let's talk possibilities first.
Mm-hmm.
So, technology.
Laser beams.
Okay. So, well, I mean, we go high, medium, fantasy, modern, none, right?
I mean, honestly, that would
steampunk.
Okay. Oh, you said did you not say none?
I did say none.
Okay, no, there it is.
None
that
would
to
be
me
would be less than D&D.
That is slightly interesting though.
Okay, go ahead.
Because, well, I don't know, because like it makes sense with kind of what the world is, right?
Yeah.
It's
Does it?
It's yeah.
But why wouldn't engineers exist to try to make something to overcome?
It's because it's the world is new. The gods are around. The people haven't created things yet.
Okay.
Because
everything's provided to them by gods. So where does technology start? You're playing civilizations. Where does technology stop? Because none means the wheel doesn't fucking exist, and we're not there.
Right. We're hitting each other with a level 2 branch, and the ranger has a +1 rock to hit.
Yes, and suddenly the wizard casts fireball and he wins. We have to at least have. Oh god. Which? I'd kill wizards too. Fuck those guys. All I have is a rock.
And then it just gets pummeled.
I don't even get to have a spear. Fuck fire. I don't have any fire.
They don't know what fire is, but someone can cast fire.
Somebody can cast fireball, but for some reason they can also copy spells into a book, but there's no wheel.
No, they can't do that. There's not the technology for that.
But this game wouldn't run. It would just be clerics and barbarians. Monks. Yeah. Clerics and monks.
Yeah.
So I'm going to erase none. I don't like the idea of modern necessarily.
No.
A steampunk, maybe like an old fantasy steampunk where guns and flying ships are a thing, like Final Fantasy style steampunk.
Possibly.
Possible. You think anybody would answer a straw poll?
Not to the point where I think we'd get something
Meaningful.
Yeah.
High tech lasers
Laser
and space
beam.
travel. We got medium tech.
I don't like this map editor. I don't
modern.
Like, okay. Next one.
We have low tech, which would be like
I'm an idiot.
Gunpowder, powder and rifling. We have steampunk, so like Final Fantasy, let's say 6. Multiple options. Create poll. Wait, what level of tech? Create poll. And you could even answer.
4.
You could even answer this poll. What
4.
server error? Create poll. Server error. Try again. What?
The level of tech is always 4.
Straw poll is broken.
It's a sign. It's the gods have spoken.
It's like straw poll is not supposed to be down, guys. This is a thing. All right, fine. If you have any comments on level of tech, please leave it in the chat. Just let us know.
Or in the comment section down below.
Because we're gonna put this on YouTube. Because we're nerds.
Especially if you're the first comment,
you just get to decide our fucking tech level. Not at all.
I don't know. Like, to me, like a modern era D&D game. It went away. Okay. Like, to me, that's impossible to do.
It's not. There is modern D20. It is a rule setting. It is just a lot more than I want to do. Hey guys, you've been tweeting. Your god has got 100 likes today, thanks to you. His follower count has been increased because he's a Twitch streaming god.
Oh my god!
The gods are Twitch streamers. The gods are YouTube Twitterers. And each god's likelihood.
Ninja owns half of the land. And there's this uncommon god who, lives in a shack.
Thanks.
No problem. Hey, I gave you a roof over your head.
That's true.
That's more than what your stream's doing for you.
Oh, sick burn, asshole. Now actually read a D&D book before you try to start a stream on D&D.
Why read? That's why I have you.
All right. So
you're me getting out of reading.
What do you like here? I'm aiming for the bottom 2 tiers, if anything. Gunpowder and rifling is probably one step past normal D&D. Steampunk is another world altogether. I don't actually understand the full breadth of steampunk. I'd have to do some learning.
Yeah, to me, that steampunk seems hard. At least low tech, that's like some of that stuff is already written in.
And let's not forget standard, because there's still what D&D tech is that.
Mm-hmm.
High tech lasers and space travel changes the fucking game.
Imagine we build this super epic world, and then they're like, "Yeah, we take the spaceship, we go somewhere else." But no, I mean,
that's when the spaceship blows up because the fuel line was cut and they all die.
I mean, I would be either for low, like I would say like. I think it would be interesting if during the game,
technology
low
advanced.
tech start to happen.
Start with standard D&D, and they're fighting something, and suddenly somebody has a rifle for the first fucking
right, game. And then they're in a large scale battle or whatever. They'll all go and they see a description of a gun, and then all of a sudden, there's just people around them are falling down, and they don't know why.
One of the one of the gods must be like the god of like seeing into the future, time or something. And they brought
Hmm.
back some tech. They said, fuck this war. I'm pulling the trigger and bring back some technology. God of time um, advances the tech level. Um, what's it called? Unnaturally.
Could
Okay.
be, yeah.
I like it.
It's what's it called? Oh, fuck! 4 years of college for nothing.
Yeah, that's not
Um,
my fault. How much you pay for that?
it's
And I'm the one schooling you right now.
it's Thanks, Dad. Um,
Uh,
the where
yeah.
I can't believe
Go
I'm
ahead.
forgetting what it's
Words.
called.
You
But
you
but
went to
essentially,
college.
okay. So you have
Yeah.
a world.
Okay.
You have a world that has rifles. You then introduce a world that has bow and arrows. You make them meet. The 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 place that has bow and arrows does not need to then advance through the world to get rifling like they do in civilization. Through, if it somehow gets in their hands, they just have rifling. Like it's that, so like the gods have the rifling and it's sort of like kept away. And then if it just slips through, boom, they have it. They don't need to, invent the musket and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden there's this rubber banding back and forth of technology disparity.
Sure. I can
Yeah.
see it. I can see it. But we are getting specifics now.
Yeah, well, yeah, ish.
We are. I like it. This is stuff for spreadsheets.
Which you can insert into our sponsor OneNote. Thank you, Microsoft, for paying us nothing.
Thank you, Microsoft. Thank you for running literally everything I want to do, except for Super Smash. Why aren't you on that? All right, so we are at what I would normally call a great stopping point. Are there any other things we want to cover in this episode to extend it to our originally planned 3 hours, or did we just find the perfect timeline for this as an hour and a half?
Yeah, I think we could do an hour and a half show. We could do stuff maybe on the side a little bit and then bring it so we don't have to, start the engine every time, but then we could bring it on, still show everything. We don't need to hide stuff, but like work a little bit up and then boom, we're good.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to write this theme as Arcane Magic is illegal because gods. Well, then, wrapping up, how we wrap this up is being invented right now in my little noggin. Thank you, everybody, for watching. What we actually discuss today, and where we leave ourselves off is who we are, what the show is about. We kind of introduced our theme of the episode. We talked about the tools we were going to use and not use. We got a quick organization structure for how we want to lay out our information, and then we hit the big idea. We wanted to talk about the big idea for our setting, and I think what we settled on is arcane magic is rare and illegal because gods. And the because gods part we talked a lot about, and it gives us a lot to build into our setting. A lot to pull details from, because that changes a lot in the world. What I want to do before we leave off is next time on Untitled episode 2, we will do a couple things. We will try to come up with a name. What else are we gonna do? What else are we gonna do next time?
We're going to have a rough draft of a map, or is that too?
Okay, rough draft of map. Maybe some gods. Some list the major players / deities. Maybe give them some meat, and that gives us a lot. We could probably spend most of the episode doing those two things, because once you get the map going and start talking about the major players, we can dive into what their big themes are. But in case that's not enough content, what else?
I mean, could we go into the just minor deities also?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Potential associations between them.
deities. Okay, minor deities and associations between all. How they conflict. We kind of build the conflict that way. And you know what? There we go. The
And how
effects.
also how the races of D&D play into it.
Okay. So it
Like,
sounds like what we're gonna have to do is actually come up with a rough draft of a map. We're gonna do a rough draft of the map, a rough draft of the setting before whatever this event is, because I think this
yep.
is an event. Something happens and all the gods come down at once. The timeline for the event, we'll give it a name later, and then of course list of layer players, deities. We probably have to do the deities first. So keep the rough draft of the map, list of the major deities, then the rough draft of the setting before the event, the timeline for how it played out, and how the races played into it. Okay, I think that's huge. That's a lot of things. And we should be thinking about that individually between now and then.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Tom, why don't you sign off and say goodbye to all these beautiful people?
Hey, everybody. Bye. This is why Casey streams and I'm just here.